putting the WASP together after a regatta. Usually when I travel, roll up the wings so that all the systems basically stay rigged up in the boat. And you can see I already have one of the wings on, but basically what I'm going to show you is, the steps to put the wings on, and then order of kind of getting everything rigged up and ready to go for events, just to make traveling to and from events much easier on people. So obviously wings rolled up, as I said, just kind of unroll the wing, leave it loose on the ground, and then the first thing I have to do is put in the wing bars. Personally, I like to put in the stern wing bar first, just because it seems to be a little bit easier on my boat, but really the order doesn't matter at all. So the first thing, put this wing bar under all the stuff and kind of in place on the corner here. I'm going to get my pin out. Again, just make sure you have your hiking strap in, because once it's on, you won't be able to get that. Once the bar is on, you won't be able to get that hiking strap in place. So all I'm going to do is put the end in here, get my pin through, and sometimes this takes a little wiggle around. Just got to get everything kind of lined up. It should go in by hand. If it's not, I recommend putting some glue on it first. Before you try using any pliers or anything. Certainly don't grab a mallet to bang things in place. Really, a mallet can be used for kind of tapping things in once they're kind of all the way through, and if they need to go through a little bit more. But you can see that this wing bar is completely loose, so I can move it around, because there's no tension on the tramp itself. So really, I should be able to get this in place by hand, which you saw me do. Great. Next thing I'm going to do is just the front wing bar. Same kind of concept here. The only thing to look out for with the front wing bar is you have your systems going through this piece. So what you really want to do is make sure that you hug the wing bar kind of up against the front of this pocket, just to ensure that you're not wrapping your systems on the inside. Everything is clean. You can always retie your systems if you have to, if you make a mistake. Or just take the wing bar back out. Get it right from the beginning, and makes your life a lot easier. I'm just gonna pass this through and kind of lock it in place. Now you'll notice that there is kind of a little bit of tension on the tramp, so sometimes you just have to make sure you get it nice and loose. Cool. And that should be in. Then all I have to do or not. Pull it out, try again. Make sure it isn't. Oh, it is. Okay, cool. All right, so then on the front, just kind of push up against. Again, if the tramp is loose and it's not Velcroed on anything, it should kind of move with you. There's a little give to it. But it's still just a little bit of a tight fit, but you can see I got around, and then pin goes in. Same concept here on the front wing. That pin should go in by hand. If not, try McLube first. If the McLube doesn't work, try pliers, and only use the mallet to tap the very end. Don't use the mallet to get it all the way in place. You'll just end up either cracking the wing bar or bending the pin, and you won't be able to do it. Cool. So great, so wings are in place. I do have to get them onto the risers here and get those pins in. Again, as long as there's no tension on the tramp, this should be fairly straightforward. You just kind of line up everything and wiggle it into place. Same thing on this side. Line up everything. Get it in. And then they have the little bungees here. Just make sure that bungee is wrapped around. Once you tighten the tramp and the hiking strap, that'll pull the whole system tight, so you shouldn't have to worry about these moving around too much. But again, you can see I could do everything by hand right there. Okay, next step that I like to do is get the hiking strap in place. Sure. So I like to use this near hole, but obviously use whichever one best suits you. On this part, again, you want to make sure that your systems aren't twisted. Okay, so I'm just double checking that. I'm going to tighten this up a little bit so it's only about halfway out. That's just, again, kind of personal preference thing. You can always adjust that after you have your hiking strap in place. Okay, so pass through, go around. Again, make sure to go around all these systems so that nothing's catching. Okay, that's around on both sides. I use this thicker line. If you use thinner line, it'll stretch a lot. So you have to be very careful of that. And I'll do 2 wraps. Again, making sure I'm going fully around the whole control system. Okay, everybody ties this a little bit differently. Doesn't really matter. I do a kind of mini purchase system here. The reality is all of this stuff will stretch a little bit after a sail. So I mean, I tell people it usually takes me 48 hours, or sorry, probably a session out on the water for this to kind of stretch out fully in place. But we'll just kind of do that for now, and then I'll get the back on. So I'm going to come back to that in a second. Make that tighter. Okay. Last but not least, on getting the tramps ready is getting the tramp tight in the back. We have these 2 rods here. One tends to be longer and one is shorter. The longer one goes in the back. All you have to do is lift up this and slide it in. I don't know if you want to get in here, AJ. Basically, you know, my advice is to just be patient with this. Make sure you get it all the way through. Now the shorter one. Okay, finally we have the line that's going to secure those together on here. Got just a loop at the end of this one. I'm gonna slide it through. Try to flip that over for you. I'm gonna slide it through this rod, long rod. And I'm literally gonna lace it up like a shoe, right? Come around here. And I just noticed something. This is just kind of caught on the corner here. Just have to make sure that that's around. And free to move, right? Because I'm going to pull it all tight here. There we go. Let's see. Again, I'm just feeding it through each one. Pull. Not pulling it too tight yet, just making sure I have enough slack here to keep going. Okay, great. Now before I tie it off, which I'm going to do half hitches on the end here, I just like to go back and start at the bottom and work my way up, making sure this tramp is nice and tight. If there's sag in the tramp, then when you inevitably flip your boat over and scoop it back, it's going to be a lot harder to do, and it's going to scoop a bunch of water. You really do want a nice tight trampoline. If you can't get your trampoline very tight, then you probably need to upgrade and get a new tramp. Honestly, I get new tramps about once a year. It's kind of my timeline for replacing it, but again, it will depend on how much sailing time and sunshine these tramps get on a regular basis. You can see mine are actually pretty, getting almost to the end, so it's probably time for me to replace them. Finally, I just slide up here and do some half hitches. Nothing too fancy. Cool. Once that's done, take all the extra slack, put it in there, Velcro up your tramps, and always remember this little guy down here. Excellent. Cool. Now that the tramps are tighter, I might go back and readjust my hiking straps, just ensuring that I get these as tight as I can. Again, I like to get them pretty tight before I go sailing because I know they are going to stretch a little bit when they get wet when I start hiking. So I like to get them as tight as I can off the water, and I'll likely adjust them when I get back in after they've stretched out a little bit. The nice thing is that once you get those nice and tight, you can actually make a small adjustment here with a pulley. Okay, now that that's all in place, I'm going to get my trusty floaty in place, trusty noodle. And voila, we're good to go. So the next step in the whole process is obviously getting the foil in. Now that I have the wings, I can flip over and kind of easily do this. Where's my mast?
Hello, how are you?
Hey. All right. So, first thing I'm gonna do is get the lower section in. Just hold it there temporarily. Flip her on over. The nice thing is with just the lower section, especially with the back to the wind, it balances really nicely, especially if the rudder's in too. So I can take off the dolly with ease. Cool. And I can trust that it's just going to sit nicely right there. Next step. Let's get the main foil in. That. You have a few pieces at the top that you need to make sure are out of the way. I like to take this one all the way out, but some people just make sure it's, some people leave it in and just make sure it can't stick out on either side. Whatever your preference is. Cool. Put that down there. And then we go in. You can see I've sprayed this one up with McLube a few times. It's never a bad idea to reapply it. But literally just line it up and kind of gently wiggle it in place. Once you have it in, and you're kind of all the way, sometimes it does catch on this side. So what you can see is, it's caught around my ride height adjuster, right? Just a little bit. So I just want to make sure that's kind of out of the way. And then I can just slide it all the way through. Easy. Take that off. All the way in place. Now we are ready to go. You do want to be careful coming down. Sometimes the tip of the foil can touch the ground, so sometimes I put my leg up against here, just kind of pull against. Again, just to prevent the foil down there from breaking. Cool. Now all I need to do, rig up the sail, pull out the airbags, and then we're good to go.